at Penji is our commitment to helping those who are making sacrifices to help others. Thank you to those making a difference in your community. We are currently accepting applications for Penji for nonprofits. If you know a nonprofit or you are one yourself, head over to penji.co and click on Penji for Good at the bottom of the website to learn how to qualify. If you are listening to this podcast and are not a nonprofit, well, welcome. Become a customer by using the custom coupon code within the podcast show notes. Proceeds of all sales goes directly back to the nonprofit from this interview. Now, back to the show.
Okay, Rachel, to get us started, can you please help me explain a meme, the concept of a meme, to a Victorian child?
Oh, absolutely not. I can't even imagine what a Victorian child would be, much less how we work on it. But I think we'd have to go down the path of something along the lines of, this is how we communicate in this day and age.
There's a thing called the internet, and we post jokes.
I don't know. I'm kind of a little bit older, so I was here before the internet was, before we could Google things.
Oh, right. Yeah. So you didn't use the internet before. I mean, how did you Google things? Or not Google, how did you research things?
The library and a phone book. We had encyclopedias. Research for class products was terrible. But at the same time, we had more freedom because we had a phone that had a cord, so we never took it with us. Well, we could also slam the phone when we were really upset to hang up. So that was the bonus. Now just pressing that button just doesn't give the same effect.
That makes sense. If I'm having a fight with like a guy and I just want to like yell at him, throw the phone down the window, it's so much more satisfying to like throw that thing than just
Versus,
having
like,
to think.
if you could
Yes.
just hang up, it makes so much more sense.
So much better than just pressing a button. You're right. Not even pressing, you're just tapping on our screens nowadays. There's no button.
That's it. And you don't want to break your phone. It's too expensive to replace.
Yeah, it's like a $600 phone. You don't want to like ruin it. It has ruined spontaneity. I will agree with that. But Rachel, guys, everybody, you have all heard her. This is Rachel Minion from Beyond Basic Needs, and we are having her today at Unified Purpose. So you guys know the drill. Welcome. This is a podcast where we tell inspiring tales of compassion, resilience, community spirit, and so many other amazing things. I'm your host, Daniela, and I'm Penji's partnership coordinator. And joined with us is Rachel from Beyond Basic Needs. I think I already said that. Hi, Rachel. How are you today?
Hi, I'm Divine. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to have you. We do a lot of podcasts at our network, and Unified Purpose is one of my favorite ones. I love talking to nonprofits like yourself and giving you guys platforms. So I'm really excited.
Thank you so much.
So to get us started, get the ball rolling, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, about Beyond Basic Need, what you guys do, everything that we need to know for everybody that's watching who's not familiar? Floor is yours.
So at Beyond Basic Needs, we provide an actual path for anyone who has someone in their network, or maybe it's for themselves, to receive a chemo care kit anywhere across the US. The goal here is to have that actionable step because in most cases, when someone receives a cancer diagnosis, their support network may or may not have touched cancer before. They may have had a mom who had it, they may not. And if you haven't, rather than speaking up and knowing what to say and how to handle a situation, they don't do anything. And so there's silence. It's the most isolating time in a person's life. You've just now been faced with death and you're alone. So rather than being alone, that's where Beyond Basic Needs comes in. You can come to our site, you can order a chemo care kit, and we ship it out for free. And we try to be able to provide that small bit of support for a cancer warrior who's on their journey.
That's amazing. I think when I was doing research on you guys, and I saw the care packages that you were sending, what really sort of stood out to me is how you are looking into the small details of what it's like to actually fight cancer. And I think a lot of times when we're talking about being cancer warrior or survivor, you look at the big picture. You see kind of like, oh, this person has leukemia, or, like they have this terrible rare form of cancer that nobody has, and like they have a tragic life. And that's kind of like where your head goes immediately to like the worst things. Um, and we don't talk enough about how it's just a a matter of getting through the day.
Yeah.
It's a daily struggle, and it really is all about just kind of making the day bearable for a person, especially when they have very rare and complicated forms of cancer. It's just getting them through the shower, through a meal, going to the bathroom, and these type of things are really just kind of looking into these details that I think we sometimes overlook.
My cancer diagnosis was 11 years ago. I was in my 30s and I was in New York City. We lived in Chicago, but here I am. I'm in like Google headquarters and it's so cool. And I'm there for this Verizon executive conference. I'm supposed to be talking to all these different groups of people. And all of a sudden, my pants don't fit. And I was like, I've never been this bloated in my life. Like, it was painful. And then all of a sudden, they wheeled in the coffee cart and the bagel cart. And the smell of this was just horrible. And so I think I have a Google MD. So I whip out my trusty phone and we Google it. And guess what? I'm pregnant. That's it. I've Googled all my symptoms. I am nauseous. I need to get out of there. I am green. I can't even talk. So I leave the conference and I take the first flight home. And, I'm going through all the symptoms. Now I'm craving donuts. I haven't eaten donuts in over a decade at this point, but I need a donut. My husband's asking what type. I don't know. I don't eat donuts, but I need one. And I was like, I have to be pregnant. There's no question. And a week and a half goes by and I'm having all these stomach pains. And believe it or not, if you Google stomach pains and pregnancy, women are saying these are the worst stomach pains for 9 months. And I'm thinking, I am the biggest wimp. So I'm trying to just make it through the night. I go to just urgent care the next morning on a Saturday. It's been a week and a half since all this has happened. And they say, ma'am, you're not pregnant. Oh, so what am I? And the doctor says, I don't know. Our lab is closed tomorrow, but we'll have results Monday morning and we'll call you. Okay, great. So we go about our day. The next morning at 7 a.m., I get a phone call from the lab. And they said, we've never seen a white blood cell count so high. You need to go to the hospital now. And I was like, well, this is Chicago and going to a hospital. I assume last night was probably pretty busy. I'm going to be there for hours. So can I stop and get food on the way? And they said, no, just get to the hospital. Okay. So I decided there's probably been gunshot wounds. There's probably been things that happened. Chicago is a busy place. I know normally if you go to the ER, you wait for a few hours. So let me just stop and get bagels on the way. So we did and show up at the hospital and I show them my phone because I have the results. They emailed them to me so I could get right in. I didn't even get through registration. They didn't even get past taking my first name and before I was wheeled to the back. Now, there isn't a hospital system in the world that doesn't want your insurance, your name, and how you're going to pay up front. That doesn't happen. So that's how urgent this was. And turns out my appendix had burst the week and a half before, almost 2 weeks at this point.
How are you walking around for so long?
I have no idea. I thought you died if that was the case. And no, it's not. So they took care of a lot of things for me. So they said, I had to be in the hospital to get the infection down. And then 6 weeks later, I did the surgery to remove my appendix. And 2 weeks after that, I went back in for my follow up. I said, do I need to bring anybody? They said, no, you're fine. Don't worry about it. And I had just quit my job, accepted another job. I was really excited, trying to just figure out when my new start date would be. I just let my current company know. And this appointment is taking forever. They are pushing me back now 2 to 3 hours. And I'm sitting in this brick building. There's no Wi Fi. I have to sit by the window to get a little bit of service. It's a pain. And they take me to the back and they say, so, ma'am, you have cancer. I said, nope, I'm on candid camera. This wasn't funny. Bring out the camera, guys. We can do our little thing and like go. And he says, okay, well, I'll let you sit here for a little bit. And I was like, oh, okay. And the next thing that hit me was, all right, Chicago just legalized pot. Does that give me a get out of jail free card? I have no idea. This is all new and foreign to me. And that's the only upside I could ever think about. And he says, why? We'll get you one of those if you want. But why don't we get back to next steps? And you have to have surgery, and then we can talk what treatments there's going to be. Okay. So I go to sit down and schedule an appointment, and I see my phone is on low battery. I'm not that worried about it, but I text my family because I think I'll have enough juice and say, so I have cancer. The message went out and shut off my entire phone. I don't have a charger in the car. So I go drive home, and it's what should be a 45-minute drive is 2 hours and 45 minutes before I can walk through the door and before anybody can contact me. And my family's freaking out. And you can just imagine, right? And the minute that all this happens, you then try to figure out the next surgery. You then try to figure out what you're going to do. And we were brand new to Chicago. We had just moved there a few months before. We didn't have friends there or a support system there. Everybody was everywhere else. So what do we do? And how do we get support? And my coworkers, the new ones, the old ones, my husband's coworkers, everybody kind of left. They had no idea what to do. Our friends, never really heard from them again. There's one or two friends who really stood out by sending me things, sending me poop emojis on and off. But then you look at our family, and half of our family, MIA. And it's just because people don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. They don't want to talk about the disease. And it's like, hey, just call me and tell me all about some reality show. Tell me all the horrible things that are happening, and I will love it. I would do anything to not think about what's happening. And that's really why the nonprofit came to be.
Yeah, no, I think it's like, I mean, you're standing, or I guess we're sitting here now, so I'm assuming it had a happy ending. Um, and
Absolutely.
you obviously are doing a lot better. Do you still have cancer? No?
No, I am very lucky. I just had my 10-year colonoscopy, and I am still no evidence of disease, which is a miracle. And in most cases, right? So I have appendix cancer, and that makes me one in, I believe, a million or 1 in 2 million. And in most cases, they don't catch it. But my body had saved my life because my appendix burst and it encapsulated. And so, had that not happened, I don't think we'd be having this conversation today.
That's amazing. I mean, I'm so happy that you did. I'm so happy that you also turned it into something where you are also helping people who have cancer. And most importantly, I always think that when you're doing something like a nonprofit, like a mission like this, it's really important to have a personal connection to it because you can understand people that are going through it a lot better than someone who has never had to battle any kind of terrifying disease like that. Um, so what you're doing, I think, is great. Um,
And
and congratulations on that.
thank
Yeah.
you. And we have one of our board members. She was one lymph node away from being stage 4 breast cancer. And so she has helped curate these kits together with me, including a port pillow. So it covers the port from their seatbelt so you can get to and from treatments better. As well as we have ginger chews. We have tattoo eyebrows. We have so many great sponsors that are included in this that are really just making a difference for these cancer warriors.
So, are you guys by any chance helping people sort of educating the family members of or friends, just like a support system for people who have cancer right now on how to show up and be there for them? Or are you focusing more on the people who have cancer?
Um, I write a lot of content for those who want to know what to do, what to say, how to help. How can you be present in life? You can find that on our website. For those who are undergoing chemotherapy, we provide some content as well, but it's mainly the kits because we think those kits are the most important things that we can do to be a part of their journey and be able to support them.
Amazing. Yeah, no, I think it's great. And I think it's really important to sort of be able to help, like I said, My grandfather died of cancer. He was also very, like, he was an old man, so it was not like a situation where we were, not necessarily surprised by his death. It was more just like, I think cancer was just the thing that killed him, but he died at 90 years old, so it was like it was very much his time. We were like, yeah, I not that we weren't upset about it, but, you face, like, a diagnosis like that and a death like that with a little bit more of, like, a philosophical mind. Um but I remember sort of the last years of his life being really difficult for him. Like, because he actually had cancer for, like, I think about, like, 10 years. Like, he had it for a long time. It wasn't just, like, a short amount of time. He got diagnosed with it and survived for a long time. He started with stomach cancer and then sort of started moving around. It went into his prostate, um, and it, like, they removed half of his intestines, I think. Like, they had removed, at that point, half of his stomach. Like, they had, like, done so much but towards the end, I remember, like, there was no treatment anymore to help him. It was more just, like, there was one day when they just told my grandmother and my mom, who were, like, the primary caregivers, like, "Listen, we're just gonna start doing palliative care for him. Um, it's just there's nothing that we can do. Also, he's very old and he just needs to rest," if they were being honest. And I think it was such a, like, difficult thing to see because he was a very lively man, and to see him change from being, like, full of life and just, wanting to do so many things and energetic. And the last few days of his life were mainly just focused on his comfort because you could not touch him, like, lightly. You could not grace his hand because it hurt. That is how bad his pain was. It was really hard for all of us to understand because everything was just so complicated, and messy, and it was just more about sort of getting him through, like I said, just getting him through the day, just making sure that he ate, like, half of a pudding cup for breakfast, and then that was a success. It was just those little things that were just really what was making a difference into making him just enjoy his day a little bit better than, like, the big things like having, like, a treatment or putting him in a hospital or surgeries or anything like that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. I mean, and that really goes to show you'll hear from me, and I will say this a million times, a cancer warrior. And let me explain a little bit about that. I believe the minute that you receive a cancer diagnosis, everything in your life changes. You are no longer worried about, I put the sock in the wrong drawer or they're mismatched or it doesn't matter. And it changes your entire mindset because this is life or death. And we're all on the battlefield. We are all warriors. We are all what I like to call the Greek gods who are there fighting the battle of our lives. And I will never use the word survivor because it feels discriminatory. It doesn't honor that battle that we all fought. He fought for 10 years. He is a warrior. And that is a huge fight and a huge testament to who he is.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm not like I don't tell that story with any kind of sadness because I am honestly I mean, I do miss my grandfather, but I think that it was his time, you know?
Mhm.
It was a sad sort of situation. Anytime there's a death, it's not easy for the family to deal with, but we were all very much okay with it because, you see your family member and he's in pain all the time. He's not happy. They stop they're kind of like a shell of who they once were, and you just want them to be better, and you understand that the bet you know, they're gonna be better by not being here anymore. Um, so I think we were all kind of just, like, at peace with the decision. I don't wanna say we were like, "Oh my gosh, yay, party," but you know what I mean? Like, it's like you take it with peace. Also, he had lived a long and fulfilling life.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think it's because you see that person. He had been fighting cancer for so long. I think we don't talk about enough about how taxing it is for the person with cancer to go through that. And like I can't believe that when you got diagnosed, you realized that a lot of people just weren't there for you because they didn't know. Um, and a lot of times, what, at least in my experience, what they want is just for you to show up and like
That's it.
that you care.
Send me an emoji. Send me something about any crazy real housewife of something. Tell me something crazy that's happening in your life. Send me a stupid meme. Give me just an option of something that will lighten my day so I don't just have to carry this load alone.
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely is like probably one of the biggest things is just making that person feel less alone. Cause I think just cancer in and of itself is very lonely because you're going to have to be the one sitting there through chemo or radiation or the surgeries or whatever medical process that they're going to do on you and all the poking and prodding. You have to do that by yourself and it's scary.
Right. What we
So
did to try to make, I like to think of things like with bookends. So we started the bookend. I had just gotten my diagnosis and we went to Lollapalooza. And I decided my bookend for the end, we were done when we went to ACL. So we got to see all these incredible concerts, and it was something that we really looked forward to, my husband and I, because I knew if I could get to ACL, I could get through anything.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's really inspiring that you're here, you're telling this story. And how I'm curious on how did you actually go from, being a cancer patient, being in remission, all of these things to actually starting an organization to do this for people? Like, where did you actually, actually create the foundation for it?
Well, so when I was working, 10 years ago, and I saw how this was, I swore this was never going to happen again to anybody in my life. At any point in time, if someone has a diagnosis, I'm going to do what I can. And when I went to work at Ticketmaster, we had an employee there who was awesome. He was there for about 15 years and he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And I saw the same pattern happening. Everyone who had worked with him for the 10, 15-year period went silent. And he's in the hospital and he has a fiance. And how do we support them? So I started bringing everybody together and let's send care packages there. Let's flood the hospital with Sudoku and crossword puzzles and whatever it may be, whatever games we could. And it hit me there that, this isn't just me that it happened to, this happens on a regular basis. So when the pandemic hit, I was still working at Ticketmaster. And as you can imagine, no events, no tickets needed, no Ticketmaster employees. So I was on the phone with about 80% of our staff and we were all furloughed. And I did two things that day. I had had a side hustle that I spun up and I have a marketing company. So I went from it was my side hustle to my full time gig. But I also got to take this idea of what I was doing and figure out how do we make something from nothing? How do we be able to support people across wherever and be able to put together some type of package or something and make something actionable for them? And that's where we started the nonprofit with that idea in mind and had no idea what the heck we were going to do. I've never run a nonprofit. I'm a marketer. I don't have any idea. And we talked to my girlfriend who was going through chemo radiation, the pill of chemo, and it was a lot. And she told me about some of the things she received and started creating chemo care kits on her own and needed a way to be able to expand the mission. And we joined forces. We have now since, oh my goodness, it's been the last 3 years. Tomorrow will be our 1200th package that we've sent out, which is an incredible impact that we never expected. And
Oh, yeah.
the crazy part about this is I'm a marketer and we have done what we could to not necessarily market the business. We didn't add SEO on the site. We're trying to keep it small because I knew we were doing a small fundraising. It's small grassroots. It just came from my network. So I knew that that was a small resource and we could hit 5 people a week. No problem. We could cover that. And so for the first the first 3 years, it was 5 a week, 3 to 5 a week, and we would make that happen. And then on January 15th of this year, all of a sudden we got featured at the top of Cancer Care News. I don't know how. I'm purposely not marketing the business. And
Uh-huh.
what went from 5 a week went to 35 requests a day. And I don't want to say no to a cancer patient. So we had to go through and automate everything because previously it was a manual process of me doing all of the back end work to get a kid out. Then we had to bring in more donations. We had to then be able to bring on a team and teams of people who could create these port pillows. And we've been able to pull that all together within about 2.5 weeks.
That's so fast. That's
Unbelievably. But we also wanted to keep up with the demand. So what do you do and how do you do it and I think the biggest lesson that I learned is asking for help. I'm a girl who believes I can do anything. There isn't a challenge you're going to set in front of me that I'm not going to figure out, okay, what do we do about it? But the minute that I asked for help, my community was there. My network was there. They are bringing in promo products. We are bringing in more donors and more in-kind donations. And we have teams of people right now who are out of the goodness of their heart creating these port pillows across the US. And it's amazing.
that's amazing. I mean, I'm so happy that it has I feel like I don't know how spiritual you are, but at least for me, I'm the type of person that I feel like there is a little bit of like destiny. Um kind of I think most of the time we forge our own paths. But there's like this little bit where I've always felt like you're getting sort of pushed in a certain direction. And if something is meant to be for you, all of the doors are going to open up and you're not going to understand how, but it's just going to keep opening up for you. And if something is not meant for you, but you keep trying to get that, the doors are going to keep closing because that's not where you're meant to be.
Yep.
Um, that's kind of how I have this belief. And I feel like that's like you're a great example of that because you're just like, I don't know how any of this happened, but it's happening.
Well, the
Right.
crazy part is, and the reason why I know the date is because that's my grandmother's birthday. And she passed about 7 or 8 years ago. And so if all of this starts happening on my grandmother's birthday, then there is some big shove. Go do this. This is where you're supposed to spend time.
That's amazing. I mean, I am really glad to hear that you are thriving. I went on your website when I was doing research and I saw that you guys were even like sold out for now, or not sold out, but I guess out of
We have a
stock.
wait list
Yeah.
because we're constantly getting in new inventory. So it takes just a couple days to get that inventory settled. Then I know how much we have and then we can open up. So we're moving that wait list on a rolling basis. So if you do want a chemo care kit, you can absolutely go to our site, sign up, and then just look for an email from us when we have cleared some availability.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I will be adding the links to the description of this because I think that it's amazing. And I think that the fact that you're getting so much influx of people, I think is great. I hope that the organization keeps growing. Obviously at Penji, we are here to let everybody know if they ever want to volunteer, help out. Um, and before we finish the podcast, I wanted to run a question by you because we do have a lot of most of our listeners are either aspiring entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, or people who are starting businesses themselves or their other nonprofits. For anybody who is thinking of going into the nonprofit work, I think a lot of people are kind of iffy about it just because they're not sure if it's gonna pay well, if it's going to pay the bills, how to do it, emotionally, how much of it's gonna affect them. It's just a lot of questions. What would you say to anybody that is interested in starting in this but has, um, not done it because they're not sure how to do it or they're afraid of how the experience might be?
Well, from my standpoint, we are all volunteers at Beyond Basic Needs. But I do that because I was able to start and run my own marketing company. What I firmly believe is that if you have an idea, it will never be the perfect time. It will never be the perfect set of conditions. You're waiting for this and that and the other. And I don't believe that that ever exists. I think that we create that. So starting small and growing is the perfect way to do it. And why not start now? There's absolutely nothing stopping you other than you.
Amazing. Yeah, I think what you're doing is great. And I also wanted to see if you are looking for any kind of volunteer work, if you're looking for help, if you want to call anyone to go to your foundation, if anything that we've spoke about resonated today, anything that you want to plug, floor is yours.
Okay, we need help in every different capacity you can imagine. So if you are a sewer, please give us a shout. We need port pillows created by hand. If you have extra fabric because someone is a quilter in your family or just has tons of scrap fabric, we will absolutely take that off your hands. Come to our website. If you have product that you could do in-kind donations on, we are absolutely looking for more. Something that would be fabulous for anyone going through chemo. If you're ginger chews, if you're comfy socks, any of those things, let's have the conversation. And then, of course, we need donations so we can continue to cover shipping. It's about $7 to $8 per kit to go out. And we need to be able to make sure that we can cover the influx of requests coming in.
Amazing. I will be adding the links to your website on the description of this video so that people can easily find you. And anything that you want me to add, I'll also add it. Guys, you heard her. Go help out. And Rachel, it was great having you on today's episode.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for your time.
I'm grateful for yours. Everybody else, I will see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Unified Purpose, brought to you by Penji. Check out the show notes to learn more about today's guest. And to learn more about Penji, the human-first creative subscription service, head over to penji.co. And by the way, if you're still listening, it would mean the absolute world to us if you were to share this podcast with a friend and, of course, subscribe.